Hello, everybody, and welcome back to day 4 of the Road to 2K on chess.com. Yesterday, we managed to get a win with the Vienna Gambit, so today we're going to queue right back into another 10-minute rapid. Today, we're at 1841, and our opponent is an 1865 from Montenegro. We get the white pieces for a second consecutive day, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to start with e4 and see what our opponent would like to play. So we get e5, so we're going to play another Vienna game and see what happens. Now, there's copycat variation. Ooh, now the Zervalev counter gambit. So this one's a little bit interesting. It's not my favorite variation to play against because a lot of times they're just going to try and snap this pawn off and try and win this pawn in the center. So a lot of times here what I like to do is I like to just get my bishop out and really focus on the development. Because if they want to go ahead and take that, take the knight off, they sure can. It takes them 2 tempos to get this off. So what we really should expect here is that after we recapture with the pawn, he's going to bring his knight out to immediately attack this pawn here. So if we calculate out, pawn takes, knight here, knight out. If knight takes here, we do have queen up, but he does have queen to block or d4, after which we'd be hard-pressed to push it away. So in this position, what I may actually do for today is we're going to play B captures c3, and that way we can build back towards the center, leaving this weakness, but we'll just kind of monitor and see if it becomes too weak as we move on here. So he brings the queen out, which is a little bit interesting to me. I'm going to immediately challenge his queen to see if we can't get some more development. So we're going to bring the queen f3 and argue that if he does take our queen, we are even further ahead in development. We're going to try and win this pawn pretty quickly. So he's going to leave it there. In the interim here, what I might do is I can't really strike back with d4 yet because d4 takes, and queen takes. However, we may be able to get away with maybe like... I actually don't know here. I wasn't fully expecting him to do that either. Because I don't really want to move this knight because otherwise we lose this here. So maybe I play bishop to d3. And ask him to make a developing move here. And if he does, I think we're okay with trading that bishop. So we're going to play d3, just solidifying our center, making sure that we have our pawns all connected. h6. Still very interesting. I'm not quite sure what we got going on here. At some point, maybe we play bishop to e3, and that way now we have this push. And we're also just continuing to develop our pieces, get everything out, support our center. So the knight comes out. If I go here, takes, bishop takes, I think that's actually fine for us. Here, if he ignores it, and we take, he's threatening to come in with this knight, which is a little bit frustrating. And now that we've developed, I don't think we ever take this queen off, unfortunately. But we don't have the most time. This is the constant issue with playing rapid, is it does get tough. Do we play chicken and come back? And that way we're just ahead in development again and see if he wants to come here and bishop comes back. I think we might. But if my knight goes here, it doesn't have any really great prospects. Our queens are both misplaced, which is the tough part of this position. Now, if we have takes, are we in as bad a position? Now, we have to keep in mind, we did weaken this pawn here on e4. And he opts to go there, so takes, knight takes is still a threat. I mean, in certain lines, we might want to push. And I don't think he wants to lock the center here. I do have the bishop pair. But if he pushes, I go bishop here, preventing this from moving. The Zervalev counter gambit. This is definitely one of those lines that I need to stop and sit down and look at some point to make sure that I understand what the key ideas are in the position. There might be, I don't think there's ideas like this queen move yet because the queen's way out of place. His knight does end up on a great square if we do leave that there. So in the meantime, I might just play, I feel like b5 might be coming in certain lines. And we don't really want to castle queenside, so we're going to push a4. Give us some retreating squares, stop b5. And I'm hoping at some point that he wants to go ahead and take this pawn off. But 4 days in, it's feeling good. I think one of the biggest things that I'm starting to learn here is really how to make sure that this content remains engaging and is fun for you guys as well as myself. So like we talked about previously, is if you ever do have feedback, definitely let me know, because I'm always happy to change something up and make the content different so it's good, it's entertaining, it does what it needs to do. If we push here, he does have b5, and we might have bishop back to support the center. And honestly, in this position, I might just play this bishop d3 anyways to further support this pawn and get it out of the ways of these pawn push ideas. Now, time situation is not great. We're at 440 versus 838. Here we are getting close to a tactic to win that pawn. I do like the idea of b1, rook to b1, because after you can't push because you have takes, takes, and takes, but this is an outside pass pawn, so that's something we'd have to be mindful of. And honestly, at this point, what I might start considering is when is this pressure no longer good for us? And I don't think we're in a position yet where it's getting bad, but something to definitely be mindful of. So I might call the bluff. I'm going to play queen to e2, and then try and bring my knight out castle in play from there. So we're going to speed up a little bit, make sure that we don't fall way too far behind, especially with these types of time controls. What you often find is that if you lose that time advantage too fast, you'll definitely start to struggle and succumb to the pressure. So I think the most logical move here is just to castle, get our king out of the center, because I don't see a clear way that you come in and attack. He currently has the three defenders on that one pawn, and he's going to push. But it does create a lot of light square weaknesses. So I think the last thing we want to do in this position is trade off our light square bishop. Now if I go takes off center, I don't know if that necessarily helps us. If I go here, he gets his knight in, takes, queen takes. Then we may have ideas of like f4. I don't see a way he traps this bishop. So I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to take towards the center, assuming that if he takes with the pawn, or maybe we do have actually bishop in, takes, 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 and this defends. So let's get the bishop onto a better square, bishop b5. If he wants to close the position, he certainly can. And this pawn is just so strong. This bishop is very, very strong right now. The other kind of dynamic we do have to work here, though, as white, is that if we close the position too much, one of our advantages here is that we do have the bishop pair versus the lone dark square bishop and the two knights. So he moves that knight out of the way. We don't have any way to win material here. So I think one of our best opportunities may actually just be to... I might close the position and then try and play for c4. And if he wants to come in, we take it once and allow that queen to just kind of be there. So maybe it's a mistake to push d5, but I don't think we have a position where we are able to open up the board without it being worse for us. So he brings the knight all the way back, which is a little interesting, because I guess it is no longer needed for what it was doing. He doesn't have access to either one of these two squares. So the tempting move here is actually just to push c4 and screw in this bishop. I also now have ideas of like knight back and pushing for f4. So I'm going to start actually with c4, locking in this bishop. And if he really wants to trade it, we'll trade it. Because I just don't see a good way for him to actually attack these pawns with that light square bishop off. And even then, if he takes, I have takes, and I can even further come in with c4. And he'd be hard-pressed to get a knight to either one of these two pawns, especially with his pawns on b6 and d6. We have gotten ourselves into some serious, serious time trouble, though. There are definitely parts in this position where I think that bishop to g4 is a move. And he plays it. Now in this position here, you don't have time to move this piece away. So what I might do is actually go for this h3, takes, and try and play from there by bringing the rooks into the position. So we're going to go there. We're going to pre-move the 2. We do have an option of keeping the queens on. And I'm going to say if he wants to take them off for this endgame, I think I have a slight advantage here. Now this position is definitely not an easy one to play. If I come up, it saves the pawn, and he has this check, and it's more annoying than harmful. And I think that's one of the big things that we're starting to finally pick up on, is sometimes these moves are not necessarily these like big scary things that our opponent's doing, but sometimes it's more just making sure they don't have super damaging moves to us. So he opts to push and try and open up his rook. If I go takes, he goes takes. Well, takes. Pawn takes, rook takes. I don't know if I mind him. Well, I definitely... There's the timer. We're going to take this pawn first. Okay, he's going to go ahead and take that. He can take this pawn. His knight is on a strong square, and then he is attacking our pawns. I think here we actually finally have our f4 move. And he's struggling a little bit for a good square for this knight in this position, which should be hopefully a little beneficial to us. So he goes knight back. I think here we can try and push through and work on getting these pawns to promotion. Now I think that actually loses a pawn, unfortunately, because I am running low on time. Yeah, so he takes. I don't think we have much of an option here. So we're going to go ahead and take. We're going to bring our second rook in. And it's still not easy for him to get this piece into the position, into the attack. All right, so I kind of like the idea of going here, because then he no longer has a push. His knight has to go somewhere. And then we may have ideas of counterattacking his rook and this knight at the same time. I very well may be missing something crucial in the position. But with 19 seconds left, sometimes you just gotta go ahead and do that. So he's gonna go for it. I think here we take once. If rook takes, and here I think we actually go ahead and snap that piece off. He's going to try, and looks like he's going to play for the flag if he can. So our goal here is to play as quickly and as accurately as possible to make sure that we can convert this position. And if we somehow can, I'm going to be quite pleased with myself, even though I don't think it's going to be the most likely in our position here. Yep, he hangs a pawn. We're going to come up. We're going to try and take this pawn, pre-move our bishop back. Take this pawn here with check, and I'm going to be quiet here just so I can focus in and try and make sure I actually convert this position. And here I'm kind of just watching to see if he's going to bring his king in, because if he is, I'm going to start pushing this pawn. We're going to try and come here to stop him from coming into the position. And if he moves forward, we're going to push this pawn, try and make a second queen. And here I'm actually just trying to target this pawn here. I'm actually going to go ahead and pre-move that because it's protected by the queen. Yep, and if he pushes through, we're going to take this pawn. I think we take that pawn regardless, actually. Beautiful. We're going to come here. And the idea is we're going to try and take this pawn, and if he doesn't, we're going to take the second pawn. Very, very, very scary position here. And we draw by stalemate. You know what? With 5 seconds left on the clock, I'm not too upset with that. So let's quickly look at the game review and we'll call it a day. So for today, we played with an 82.9%. Our opponent played with a 78.2. Out of the opening, I guess you do take with the pawn, and after queen out and queen back, we were already in kind of a evenish position. Today, we really should have addressed that tension, and I think the biggest thing is, we got here, and by the time we got to move 10, we were already over half our clock down. So we continue to develop. We gave him a little bit of a positional advantage with this bishop to g4, but we defended well. We understood the position that it wasn't going to be him coming in. And from 41 seconds left with 24 moves, we played out another 58, or we played out another 34 moves. So I think all considered, we had some quick tactics in under 12 seconds. And as frustrating as it can be to secure a draw like this. You can't be mad at the way we played, and we at least did not lose and let ourselves fall down to time. So thank you, everyone, for watching day 4. I've appreciated all the support in this series, and I look forward to seeing you on day 5.